Oh, we welcome to the MDM show. Jodi is supposed to be backstage, but she's coming on with us right away. So welcome to the MDM show. Today we have Jodi Barrett here for with KBStronger. She is a part of Impact Magazine, Canada's top fitness model for Impact Magazine, as featured in Impact Magazine. She's a best-selling author with I Don't Do Vanilla, and she is with us here today. And how's it going over there today, Jodi?
It's going great. I was thinking a good thing I wasn't drinking my coffee while I popped on here. Thank you.
Yeah, you're supposed to be backstage, but I forgot to press the button, so that's okay. No problem. No problem.
Right? Just roll with it. Here we are.
Yeah. So you're in Calgary, Alberta today.
I am. Yes.
Excellent. Looks very nice and blue, sunny skies over there today. That's awesome.
Today, yep.
Excellent. So we're going to talk about your story of where you came from, and then where you are, and then where you're going, how your whole entire fitness journey started. You can go as deep as you want to go into the stories that you want to tell, from where you came from, where you are now, how you got to where you are now, and then what the vision and direction looks like for the future. Oh, and you got a book. Yeah, you want to show your book? If anybody wants to like, we'll show that at the end. So she's got this book here, I Don't Do Vanilla. And you can get that at your website if they want to get your book, or Amazon.
Yeah, website. It's on my website and it's on Amazon.
Cool.
Also.
So yeah, go get Jodi's book if you want to have a good read. That'd be a beauty. And then we'll get into it right now. So where do you want to start with your story of how far back you want to go to how you got to this place like right now, where you're at?
Right. Where do I go? Okay, I think probably it's seemingly the easiest start spot for me because it was my big transition, my big change. I tell the story often. My gym, I call it in the book, my gym reflection story. And it was the day I used to train a lot. Once my kids got older, I'd started going to the gym, but I would just spend probably 2 hours in the gym. 3 to 4 times a week. And then on the days I wasn't in the gym, I was also running. So, if you kind of think about how much time I was spent there, you may think that, wow, dedicated, or she was avoiding something.
Right? So at the gym, where did you start? Like, did you start as a kid? Like, when did you start going to the gym? Are we talking elementary school? Are we talking like in high school, or like university age? Or how did you even get to, or why did you start going to the gym, and how did you even get to go to the gym? Like, when did that story start?
That's a great question. I think the best place to go is, as a kid, I started to navigate my anxiety through going running, because I grew up in the country. So it was not an option, but outdoors, I correlated quite quickly, not understanding at the time that when I went outside and got fresh air, and when I went out and, like, if I was feeling super anxious and I would go for a run, that it would regulate me. And I took that through life. And I'll be 50 this year. And when I was probably at that age, nobody ever sat down and told me why this works for you, Jodi, because, you're regulating your system, you're getting out, you're resetting, you're going into a free state versus, that confined state that gives you so much anxiety, panic attacks. So I often have the conversation with my middle daughter. She's like, we'll talk about the tools that I have and I use. And she's like, Mom, no one taught you those tools? And I was like, nope. I recognize now with more knowledge the tools that we use and how I implement them, and I share them with others. But for me, a lot of things are like, I just stumbled onto them, thankfully, and able to hone them a little bit for myself and to help navigate through everything. So gym world didn't really, come into play with me until probably, I went to university and I kind of went to the gym, but I was pretty active, like, with sports. So it wasn't even something then that I wish I would have known back then about training, lifting, because it would have helped me in my sports, my sports, right? It would have helped me be a stronger athlete, but and a stronger dancer. But really, the gym didn't really come into my world probably until I had kids.
Who introduced, like, how do you remember the first day when you entered a gym, or how you got introduced to just the gym kind of process and how that, do you remember any of that, the first day or how that happened?
Well, in high school, I do remember our coach, our basketball coach, being like, "Here's the gym. Here's some equipment."
Yeah.
Really, he like
Yeah.
encouraged us to do it. We're like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah,
We didn't
I can
really
recall, definitely. Yeah.
think much of it. So, but that probably would have been my first introduction. And then when I went into university and my kinesiology degree, of
Mhm.
course, you're training, you're building the programming and all of those such things. So that
Yeah.
was probably my real first introduction into doing that.
Yeah. And then did you find that you were kind of alone in the gym, or did you have, like, friends that came with you, or you just kind of navigated it by yourself, or did you have like a little group of people that you went to the gym with, or you just met people at the gym and then that type of
Yeah, I guess looking back on it, having this conversation, thinking about that, I've always been pretty. I don't want to say I'm a loner, but I uniquely, maybe I would be the word, is that I've never really needed that support system to get myself there and I think because I learned at a really young age that when I felt off, because I would use it to regulate myself, when I felt off, I would just go
yeah.
do it. And I never had anybody when I was younger to say, "We know you're stressed out. Go for a run, get outside." Right. So
Yeah.
I had that ingrained in me at a very young age. And looking
Wow.
at it now, that was for me, it was a safe place to go to reset.
Be free. Yeah, reset, be free, and get rid of stress and anxiety. And then that's what you bring to your routines now, because you're so disciplined, you're in great shape, you look good, and then you bring that to your clients. You ingrained that at a young age, and you did it by yourself out of your own accord, and no one really had to push you, but you found that this is the way to relieve stress and to get healthy and to clear my mind and to do all that. So that's like sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the part for me was when I go back far to the gym reflection story was I used training to navigate always. In that day in the gym, I looked at my reflection in the mirror and I couldn't lift anything. And it was
Hmm.
such a disconnect for me because I looked in the mirror and I see my reflection and like I see this woman who's strong, capable, fit, and momentarily terrified because the only thing that worked for me was lifting a weight to reset.
Hmm.
And it was just such a moment where I went, number one, I have no desire today to lift a weight. And everything in that room,
Yeah.
and I look around because I literally could take myself back. I looked around like everything looks so heavy, but it
Yeah.
was everything inside me that was so heavy.
Wow. Yeah.
So I grabbed my bag and I left that day and I went for a walk and I ended down by the park, walked onto the bridge overlooking the water, thinking um, I was so sad inside. And,
Hmm.
when I used to write about this story, I used to say I was so broken that day. And I felt like that for a long time, but I think over time I realized it was actually the day that I got brave to like own my stuff, like really own it. And
Yeah.
that day I asked myself a lot of hard questions, and one of them being, was I worth what I wanted to go after for myself? Being a mom of 3 kids and being married at the time, we stay with things to appease others, and when we love people we navigate those roads. And for me that day, I knew that I had to leave my existing marriage, and I was a question I asked, if I was worth it. Like,
Hmm.
was I worth it? Was I worth disrupting other people's lives, or do I just carry on? And
Hmm.
I just prayed. I prayed that I could move forward, and I knew it would be probably rocky waters. Probably didn't realize how rocky, which I'm super grateful for, because I think sometimes walking forward unknowingly gives us the courage to do it. Because if we would see some of the stuff that we'd have to go through, probably we may change our thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. Because, yeah, so you were able, from what I've seen here right now, you were able to actually see that in your mind of that day when you're at the gym, and then you said everything looks heavy. So the weights looked heavy, and then what was going on in your mind is heavy. So it was kind of symbolic of what was going on in your mind and your heart, and the weights looked heavy, and then stuff was heavy in your life. So you kind of exited out of that, and then you found reflection in nature to kind of make a decision that you had to change something, and then you wrestled with that for a little bit, and then you made that decision. And how did that transition kind of go for you? You mentioned it's a little rocky, you might not have made it if you knew all the challenges, and then that makes you stronger into, like, now you're KBStronger, and
Right.
then and then how did that decision that you make that day from there to where you are now, how did that kind of go?
Yeah, well, it was a journey, because it was the rocky waters that I would never wish upon anyone, but I would never take them away from me either, because it's built me who I am today. I had to learn a lot of lessons, still learning a lot of lessons, but it allowed me to, I see people who carry things. When I train with people physically, I can recognize when life is heavy, because they lift different.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Interesting.
absolutely. And it's a thing for me too. I'm so grateful to my training, because I think my training got me to that day, was strong physically, but it allowed me to actually look at my reflection and go, okay, you're physically strong. It's that inner strength that we need to work on now.
Mm-hmm.
And I still kept moving, but my training schedule changed, because it needed to change, because I recognized the fact that I was avoiding things.
Mm-hmm.
And just all of that I was able to take forward. And I always say this, I say it lightly, but I don't mean it lightly. Like I always say, and I say it, but it kind of catches me off guard. Training saved me.
Wow.
And it was something that I was learned from at a young age to go, like, having this conversation with you today, and you said about going back out to nature. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to get outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I can reflect and correlate that when I was younger, I would go outside because I could breathe better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of get one with nature, because it's so important. Right. And for me, it was like, like that, just that whole journey of, we go to our roots always.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why when we have stuff within our roots and our background that maybe we have to work on a little bit more and change how we think and our thinking patterns. So it's been really good for me, because you come here today, you get here today, and I just finished a 6-week project with a group of women, and it's, so many of us want to change. We know that we need to make a change. Often we don't even know how, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, we're struggling physically, we're struggling mentally, and it's like, I got this big struggle, and I don't even know, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So, I've been blessed to, go through the rocky waters, and, I think now be able to stand on the other side and go, okay, how can I help others cross the waters, right?
Yeah. So you just touched on your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, your physical, and then the relationship with yourself, or your relationship with nature, how all that integrates. So you went through all that, so that's all integrated within you now, and you have an idea how that all works. So you take that information, and knowledge and wisdom that you got from all that, and you piece that together within yourself, and now you can help other women integrate all those, the mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and the relationships and all that together within their own mind, body, and souls, which is like amazing, because not many people really have that journey that you had, or maybe they have, but they're still going through it. So you can kind of help people navigate through that, because you went through it and you came out the other side stronger, because a lot of people just play the victim role and they get depressed and they're full of anxiety, which still sometimes exists, but you know what to do, and you have the tools and the skills to be able to kind of help yourself and help people navigate that, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever sitting here going, oh yeah, you figured out, you went through it. It like those things still exist, the anxiety, the feeling. I said about a year ago, that feeling of that panic attack when I woke up that one morning, because I had a big year of transition in 2024, and waking up and going, oh my God, like I'm gonna freak out. But it's going again back to those tools and those systems that go, okay, you're not, just breathe. What things do I have? What techniques do I have in place to help me navigate those waters with ease, or with better ability to walk through it and not be like, it's kind of like you're on the road and you're kind of going, you want to keep it between the weeds. We used to say that, keep it between the weeds so you don't hit the ditch, right? And it's having the tools to know that you're almost going to ditch it and to be able to pull back and navigate going down the road.
Yeah. So how do you feel the relationship with yourself? Because the relationship with yourself back then, when you made that decision, that typical decision, the relationship that you had with yourself back then to the relationship that you have with yourself now, what's the main difference in that?
Oh, I would say my internal dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I had some nasty years where I wasn't very kind to myself because I disrupted everybody's world, mine included. And I carried so much guilt with that. Right. So I beat myself up a lot until I realized one day, I was like, if you are going to have any kind of life moving forward, if you're going to, when you disrupt people's world, like I feel like I did, and you beat yourself up, and then you go, okay, why did I do this? And that was a heavy thing for me one day to kind of go, no, this is not how this is going to play out. And that was the day I decided, I'm like, okay, I made a change because I wanted to do better. I wanted to be better. I wanted to live my life, fulfilled life. And I'm like, and I'm sucking. And if I was going to suck, I might as well have just stayed and kept everyone else happy, at least everyone else. And then I could just held that in. So it was a conscious decision to say, no, I'm going to pick up the pen instead of saying, why not? Like, instead of saying, if this happens, I changed my idea to why not me? Why can I not be successful? Why can I not be, feel the joy, happiness inside? And it was that internal dialogue that I really had to switch. And again, it's not like you switch it, you change it, and it's done forever.
Yeah. No.
It's like I do 100 push-ups a day, right? And every day, I got to do 100 push-ups again. Like that does never stop.
Yeah.
I had a moment this morning. I said something, and I actually said out loud, I said, don't be stupid. I said that out loud because when you live by yourself, sometimes you start talking to yourself.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time. Definitely.
and I stopped myself, and I was like, wow, that wasn't very nice. And I just kind of had that moment because you are a constant, we are, as human beings, we are a constant project.
Definitely. Yeah.
And my middle daughter, she said to me one time, we were at Chapters, or Indigo now. She said, Mom, are you ever going to be out of the self-help section? And I said to her, I'm like, no. And I said, the minute that I am, you need to tap me on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Because it means I'm not working on myself.
Yeah. Like it should be a continuous, and it is a continuous process, whether someone chooses to work. And it's just the fact that you are working on yourself and you chose to work on yourself, because not many people even think that they need to work on themselves. But I believe every human being should continually be working on themselves and all the aspects. There's 6, 7, 8, 9 major aspects of people's lives that they are doing, whether they are aware of it or not. And if they can, consciously be aware of what they're thinking, It all starts up here with their mind, and then being in control of your emotions, being in control of, and you're not totally in control because there's circumstances that are outside of our control, but being in control of what you think, and then the emotions that get triggered in different situations when you're out in the world, and then how to navigate those emotional triggers and remain calm if you can, or like to have a response that might be pleasing to people around you, as opposed to like, yeah, it's quite interesting how you've navigated all that and integrated all that to what you're doing right now. And then how did so you were at a gym and you owned a gym or you ran a gym, and
Like
then you
when
had,
the day I left, you mean?
yeah, was
That
that your, was
that
that,
was that was way before. So that was that was a gym I was training at.
and then the integration into the kettlebells would be an interesting story, how you got into the kettlebell from the gym.
Yeah, so I was in a deep search, decided I call it my B phase, where I just decided I was so stressed out because I was like, what am I going to do? What I want to be, right? Because I was a stay-at-home mom for 11 and a half years. I'm like, oh God, I got to be something. Like, what am I now? What am I
Yeah.
now? And I fought with that for so long, and I did an online auction company with a couple people, and so we were like ran our own business. And I remember, pricing salt and pepper shakers. Somebody dropped off like boxes, and I was
Yeah.
there at 2 a.m, and I was like, I hate this. And I'm like, if I ever, and then I had that moment. I'm like, if I ever run my own business again, I gotta love what I do, because you have to put
Yeah.
work into it. So I quit that, got out of that, and I thought, I just want to be like, who is Jodi? I was a mom for so long. I was really good at defining my roles in life,
Yeah.
but I was like, who am I? And so during that process, I
How
searched
did
out.
how did you get to know the answer to the question? Sorry to cut you off, but you said, who am I? And not many people ask themselves that question, like, who am I? Why am I here? What's my role and what makes me happy? So how did you even get to ask yourself that question, I guess, is my question.
Right. I think it was because I'd started this online auction, and I realized I didn't like it. I'm like, I really thought I call it my second chance to write my story. And I was like, after that didn't work out. And when I was that phase, I drank, like I drank a fair amount, where it was a part of my world. Like on the weekends, every other weekend when the kids are gone, I would be able to, you'd go out, you'd have more drinks and that whole thing. And I was like, just really trying to figure out who I was, because I had to find, what I was going to do for the rest of my life. And in that process of being, I realized I needed to find stillness,
Mm-hmm.
because I was always in my car. Someone would call me and they'd be like, "You're in a car again?" Because I hated staying at home, because my house, I was in my kids' family home. So I had a big house by myself for, 7 days when the kids were gone.
Yeah.
And I was just so lonely, and I wanted to figure out who I was. And I think that question of being still was really hard for me, because I didn't like sitting still. So I searched out a person that I went to university with, and they were doing gym kettlebell classes in his garage.
Yeah.
And again, it was one of those I've had a lot of moments that seemingly smack me upside of the head. And I remember going there. I was nervous, running a different group of people again, and I was trying to figure out who I was. And I was thinking, okay, I needed to be still, but I wasn't sure how still came into the picture. Need to figure out things that I don't like also, is a way to determine and figure out who I am. But the stillness came the day I picked up the bell, and I was swinging the bell, and I felt grounded.
Wow.
And for somebody who was on the go all the time trying to figure out who I was, it was like, I think we get gifted sometimes these moments of, if we're paying attention, and that's the listening factor. I couldn't sit and meditate, and I still struggle with that. So for me, meditation is the movement, the rhythm of the bell.
Yeah.
I'll do it before a big meeting. I'll swing a bell, and it'll just regulate myself. And that day when I went there, it changed everything for me. I felt grounded. I didn't, then evolve to, me getting certified, me going to New York and getting a certification, asking them to hire me, the company out of there, all these things. And I remember getting on the plane to go to New York and thinking, most people thought I was crazy.
Yeah,
right?
that happens.
They're like,
Definitely,
oh, she's 41, getting on a plane to go to New York, never did big trips by myself, going after this big, wild, crazy idea.
yeah.
And I just remember sitting on the plane, terrified, scared, but excited, and knowing that, just again, having a knowing inside that the kettlebell might not, in my brain, I was like, it might not be my end game or
Yeah.
the thing about what is going to encompass my world. But I did know that it would allow me some type of vehicle to do what I needed to do, my purpose.
Yeah. Because not many people talk the way you talk, in the fact that, okay, you're searching for yourself. And how did you, I don't know if you explained it or I wasn't listening, like, because most people don't search for themselves. They don't find the meaning of their life. They don't like ask the question, who am I and why am I? So I guess I asked you this, but you kind of answered it, but it's like, was there like a moment, or was this the continual process of like, who am I? I'm not happy. And even recognizing that you're not happy and you don't know who you are, and trying to find who you are and trying to find happiness, just that in itself is like unbelievable. So I'm interested in, was it that moment you discussed when you were in the gym and you went outdoors in nature, and was there like a moment, or just like a slow transitioning process of how this all is happening, because it's always continual?
I think it's always continual, but I do think you need those moments and I think probably because I felt lost. And I recognized feeling
and you
lost.
recognize that, because most people don't, they think this is where, because you might have felt a stirring down in your soul, and you're just like, this doesn't feel right, or this isn't what I'm here to do, or this isn't making me happy. Yeah.
And I remember my kids, they're like, wow, you like, because they were talking about when I left my marriage, they're like, you snapped. Like, just done, right? But
Yeah.
and I remember saying to one of them, I'm like, I didn't snap.
Yeah.
Leaving was the not snapping. Because I remember talking to my mom one time, and I remember saying, I felt like I was a ball of elastics. And if somebody just pulled it, and they would just all snap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, I need to do something. And maybe I don't give myself a credit enough in my younger years to being in tune to myself. But I do remember and thinking that I felt lost, and I didn't want to be like, and I think we're all lost to some extent always, right? We're going to just go doing our best.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to, when I went through this whole process, it was like, I gifted myself the ability to think big and open my eyes and look through a different perspective. And I talk about perspective a lot. And I think I have a really childlike perspective of, I like to look at things like my view. I got the mountains and appreciating that, and looking at things with wonder again. Like, I would go for walks and I would see a rose bush, and I would actually pause and go smell the roses. All those things that they say to us when we're younger, that we roll our eyes at, because we're like, stop and smell the roses.
Yep. So you've actually, definitely,
Thanks, Grandma, for that. But I think if you do, but you do have to slow down, and you have to go quiet. And I did have an uncle that was quite gracious, that said to me one time, he's like, you need to find stillness, because you'll never understand yourself if you're going Mach speed.
Yeah.
You'll never be able to hear the whispers that you get told. Like, if I never slowed down enough, I would have never known, that my love for the kettlebell would help me connect with others and help them navigate. Like, you have to be able to listen.
Yeah. And that helps. Yeah. When you're in a quiet and you're still and you can just kind of listen.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think today our world is loud.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Quick.
like
Yeah. The
I
fun.
power this on, and I'm bad too. That I don't like I really recognize when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put that over in the corner for half an hour, and I sit, and man, the cool thing about that is I think when you do it, you're like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. How did we do it when it didn't
Right?
exist?
Well, think
Definitely.
how
Yeah.
our systems were,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Because we can't go anywhere without our phone now because it's kind of attached. We're all addicted to it to some degree.
Absolutely.
And if we think back when it didn't exist, we were able to function. We were able to get to where we were going. We had to communicate via the cordless or the cord phone. And yeah, and then we just kind of did our thing. We had to, yeah, we had to write a map if someone was explaining to get to their place, we had to write it down or something or follow a map. Yeah.
And
There's
those
no,
are all okay things. Like, I mean, we have to, we're supposed to move forward. Technology is supposed to, but I think it's how do you navigate what your life looks like within that realm now? Because
mm-hmm.
it needs to change too.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So where do you see yourself going from here now? You've got all this stuff going on. Where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years from now?
Oh, goodness.
Or can you see yourself that far down the future? I don't know.
You know, it's you can do crazy things in 5 years. You kind of go, wow, I wonder where things will be, in
Yeah.
5 years. I know, I train a lot and I still train, clients a lot. That dynamic, I'm looking to go doing some more speaking. Training will always be part of my world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Working at, doing retreats, because I am also a big believer in, getting people out of their space
Oh yeah, definitely.
allows them to look at their life differently, right? So, retreats is definitely I have I have a plan for a retreat along with some speaking engagements. So I'm working on that, and yeah, I think sky's always the limit, but you got to take time to dream.
Yeah. Sweet. I like that. So
Mhm.
if people wanted to work with you and wanted to contact you or wanted to like figure out more of how they can get what you have, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, well, I'm on most social media platforms.
Here we go. I got this here
There
now.
we go. So I have some projects that I'm doing. The Inner Peace Project is one for those, and that is for my female audience. And that's a 6-week mindset. You have to do movement, but you choose your movement. Just in, for those who kettlebell doesn't always, it's not everybody's thing. So I just ask in those 6 weeks, you do a type of movement. I do give you some mobility and some Zen-like movements to add in. So that one's starting at the end of the month. My Start Strong program is 12 weeks of training, and you access that on your own, starting with beginner body weight, intro bells, and you get a touch point with me weekly to keep you on track. And I'm currently also doing some private training for clients, and for that realm, I do request that you do three months minimum or
Yeah.
6 months. And I'm just looking there for people who are actually wanting to commit, because, if you want true results that are going to last a lifetime, you have to put in the time and the effort.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle change. Because people in today's society, you brought that phone up. People want everything like now. They don't want to have to put in any work. They don't want to have to put in any effort. They just want to press a button, take a pill, whatever. They think their life's going to be beautiful and gorgeous and I'm going to be healthy. But in my experience, you have to create lifestyle changes. You have to totally recreate yourself, create your story, create your life, create your habits, get rid of the old habits, replace them with new habits.
And that takes time. That
Yeah,
takes,
it's like a whole process. Yeah, you can't just do it once or for a week or for a month. You have to like
yeah,
integrate that totally into your system, into your mind, your body, and your soul, and into your habits and your daily routines, and then the environments you're in as well. So if they can get in your environment and be with you, depending on what environment they're and the people they're hanging out with right now, they'd have to kind of they have to totally change to make this happen.
yeah,
If
yeah.
they want,
The not so terrifying part, because I know when we talk about that, it sounds so huge to people.
yeah,
And often
yeah,
I always
it
say
can,
start with one thing and then
yeah,
in another. So it's not,
no
sure, we can
overwhelming.
do a 30-day program and we can change everything. But the fact of the matter is, when you change everything all at once,
No, you
like
can't.
it's sticking,
Yeah,
it's too much,
yeah,
right? So kind of like, how do you eat an elephant? You got to go one bite at a time, because that's
yeah.
a big thing. And, I always say, reach out, connect with me, and we have the conversation. It's kind of where you get to that pain point.
Hmm.
Are you willing to do the change? Are you willing to do the work? Does it hurt so much that you're ready to make the step? Because for me, that's what it was. It was like that look in the mirror that day was, I was hurting so much
Yeah.
that I set a chain of events in place because of
Hmm.
that moment, because it hurt so bad. And I had a conversation with the client yesterday, and she's like, well, she's been training online with me, and she just was reaching out because I do have the monthly where you can train, the monthly membership. But she reached out and said, I'm struggling. Well, and I'm like, well, how many sessions are you getting in? And we had the whole conversation, and she's like, I'm not happy. And I said, like, it sucks, right? And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, is your pain big enough to commit to actually doing it?
Yeah.
And then we break it down. You break it down like, okay, in a month, how many sessions do you think you can get in? That's a question I always ask.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I think I can get in 3 or 6 or like 3. So then that's 12. And I'm like, okay, out of 31 days, you got to show up 12 times. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's not so bad when you look at
Yeah.
it that way. So it's, again, changing your perspective at how you're looking at things so that you can do it. Like you're setting up your brain differently. It's when you do, when you do reps of a workout, because I always relate everything back to training, you like 100 push-ups a day sounds like a lot, right?
Yeah. You
But I
break it
don't
down.
ever do 100 at once. I do
No.
50 in the morning. I hit 25 in the afternoon and 25 before I go to bed at night,
Yep.
which makes it more doable. And do you have to do 100? Of course, you do not have to do 100. You pick where you're at. Maybe it's 5 in the
Yeah.
morning, 5 at night. That's 10 push-ups you didn't do normally. Now you're doing them.
Yeah. Yeah. If you add in all those things over a long period of time, just small little incremental changes over a period of time, then yeah, that all adds up.
Yeah.
You can't look at the whole big picture because that's way too much.
Oh,
You
it's
have to kind of
terrifying.
like
Right?
yeah.
I talk about in the book, I took clients to Jamaica on a trip, and one of my clients, who would have been in her 70s, she dislocated her baby toe like the day of the trip. And the next day we were going to go up a waterfall, a 950-foot waterfall.
Yeah.
She was there. We taped her toe. She was wanting to go. And I got there and I looked all the way up and I was like, oh gosh, how are we going to get to the top? So I had that moment in my head, again, my internal dialogue that I practice all the time. And then right away it switched to, okay, there was a platform each level. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not even looking at the top anymore.
Yeah. One step at a
Just got to
time.
get to the first level first.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the practice of that internal dialogue, changing those, having those moments where you can flip the switch to go, okay, how do I approach this in a positive way?
Yeah. The internal beliefs, killing those internal beliefs that aren't making you move forward. And then, yeah, getting over those external beliefs that aren't making you move forward. And yeah, from one level, just like one level to the next level to the next level. And then, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You got it down pat. So yeah, if you guys want to get a hold of, and where you got your book that you
I
can,
do.
So don't do vanilla. Grab Jodi's book. You can go to, what is it? These are kind of long ones here. KBStronger.com. And
Oh, yeah,
what social platforms can people DM you or see where you got some stuff going on? What's your
Instagram.
on Instagram?
Instagram is KBStronger _ Facebook there. I live a little bit in TikTok, not very much. YouTube, which is where this is also live streaming too. Yeah,
Cool.
Totally. Definitely just reach out. I'm always wanting to connect and, chat with you. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you super much for this. It's been awesome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. This has been great. So yeah, enjoy. What is it? It's Wednesday today, right? Yeah. There's a couple more days till the weekend.
Yes.
They all kind of blend in, right?
Right. After a while, they do, for sure.
All right. Well, yeah. If you want to get a hold of Jodi, get a hold of Jodi. Work with her. She can transform your life as she did it for herself, and she can do it for you. So that's pretty sweet. And I think we're done here.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day, Mike.
See you, Jodi.
Okay. Bye.